Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for watching, tuning in, coming back, all that stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And hope you're having an awesome day wherever you are in the world today. And I'm at home and I'm making a video. Surprise. And in this video, I'm talking about split toning. Now, specifically, I do, most of the time, I use Luminar and do my split toning there. But split toning is also available in Lightroom, probably Photoshop. I don't know. I don't really ever use Photoshop. It's in Topaz Studio. I'm pretty sure it's in On One. It's probably in the Net Collection. Anyway, it's a common filter or a common editing technique, and it's really powerful. I use it all the time, and in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 different scenarios where I use it a lot because it really helps create I think, a more impactful photo. So let's just hop on into it. Okay, so photo number 1 is this one. Now, this is a sunset in Rome, and it's a little bit dark, so I've added the tone filter, and all I'm going to do is take the smart tone and drag that to the right to brighten it a little bit, add a little bit of contrast, and a tiny bit more smart tone. That was simply just to brighten the photo, but as you can see, it's a sunset, and the reason I like to use split toning on sunsets is because it's really good. In fact, what it does is it allows you to intensify or adjust the color in the highlights separate from the color in the shadows. So if you look at the split toning filter, that's the components of it right there. It's highlights and shadows. And if you look over here, in each one, in highlights, for example, first you choose a hue. Now the hue is basically the color itself. So you could say, hey, I really want an orangey red sunset, or no, I want more of a blue hour. You could pick the hue or the color, if you will. And then you just come in and you pick the saturation, which is the intensity level of that color. And you do that for highlights, and then you can come back and do that separately for shadows. And the reason I like to do that is because often when you're shooting at the edges of the day, like at sunset, you'll have brighter light in the sky, right? Because that's where the highlights are. And so when you adjust that, the sky gets adjusted with, let's say, red, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to put it, I'm picking a number here, just kind of winging it. And then I'm going to drag this to the right. And you can kind of see how the sky's really coming to life. And that's because I'm at hue 12. If I'm back at 0, that's all the way to the pink. And as I drag it across, you can see it starts to create different colors because I'm dragging it along this color spectrum. So you can get all the way to kind of a pinky purple at the other end, right? So I'm going to stick over here kind of where I was and kind of the creamsicle kind of orangey, kind of look. But that's basically how it works. And it does the same thing for shadows. So I could take shadows and I could put it in the same kind of orangey yellow realm and drag it. And then, wow, look, everything lit up because the shadows are picking up that color too. But what I generally like to do is, especially when I'm shooting cityscapes, which I shoot a lot, and if there's a sunset there, if I'm messing with the light that's like in the background and trying to accentuate that, I kind of want that to be more of an orangey reddish yellow because it's the sun. Or sunlight, if you will. But shadows I like to be bluer, and so I tend to go more in this realm, like that with my shadows. I've just got way too much intensity, so let me just take that down. I don't want to overdo it there or oversell it. And then it's really a matter of, for me, just kind of bouncing between the two until you kind of get to where you like it. And then you can just be happy with it, right? So let me show you the before and after. There's a before, and there's the after. Let me turn off the tone filter because it did brighten the image. But you can see now, tone is off. Let me turn off split toning. There's the before, there's the after. So you can see how it impacted significantly in the highlights because that's where I did more of the work. I have saturation level of 67 in the highlights, whereas in the shadows, my saturation level is only 16. So it's a less intense adjustment there. Now, I kind of like this one too, where I had it over here like that in the shadows. I thought that looked pretty good, and I can make the whole scene a little bit more sunsetty, right? 2 more things to be aware of. There's shadows and highlights, a balance filter or a slider at the bottom. So it basically allows you to, if you drag it towards the shadows, you get more of that shadow color. And if you drag it to the highlights word, you get more of the highlights color. I'm just going to leave it in the middle. I don't really mess with that one too much. I tend to adjust things on the saturation slider for either the highlights or the shadows. And then the top filter, or slider, on the filter is the amount. And the amount is basically like an opacity slider. So at 100, it all shows through. But as you start to reduce it, the intensity of everything is coming down in equal measure across highlights and shadows. So 0 means I don't have any of it, and 100 means I have all of it. I generally also don't mess with that. In this photo, maybe I'm getting a little too much on the highlights. I would take that down with the saturation slider, and then if I thought it was overdone, maybe pull that back a little bit with the amount slider. That's how it works, and that's why I use it on sunsets quite a bit. And let me jump in and show you two more examples or scenarios where I love to use split toning. Okay, here's another photo from Rome. I'm in my Rome folder, so I'm just going to do all Rome photos here. And this was shot bright sunlight in the middle of the day at the Colosseum, as you can probably tell. So just a straight shot down the center, really nothing special. But what I like to do with split toning is also use it in conjunction with black and white and create kind of a sepia or vintage look. So the first thing I do is I'll add the black and white conversion filter, maybe mess with the contrast if I need to, bring up the clarity or details, that sort of thing if you want. But then I go into split toning, and sort of the magic, number, if you will, for me here is around 42 or 43, something like that. And then I drag these saturation sliders a little bit, probably like in the 20s. I think, yeah, they're both at 22. And all of a sudden you have a vintage kind of a sepia photo, right? And so, again, that's taking advantage of the power of split toning. There's the before, black and white, and there's the after. And I can show you the regular color version and the after. So, if you wanted to go even more intense on the color, you could do that if it was really like a heavy kind of look that you wanted to go for. I don't do this a lot, but that's how you create a sepia look using split toning and the black and white filter. And if you can't tell, and I don't know if I said this already or not, but I really never use a split toning filter by itself. I always use it in conjunction with the other filters. Like in that last photo, the sunset, I'd probably normally, if I was editing that photo, I would do more than tone. I'd probably have raw develop and then tone and then maybe two or three others. And then I generally use split toning sort of towards the end when I feel like it needs a little oomph, like a little something extra. Like on that sunset photo, I'd probably use that as filter number 4 or 5 or something. In creating sepia vintage kind of looks, I would probably have the raw develop first and then black and white conversion and then split toning to get kind of those yellowy kind of vintage sepia tones. But anyway, so I'm leaving out some of the other filters for the, just for the sake of brevity, I guess. But that's how I would do this photo. I might make some other adjustments as I'm playing here. I'm always looking at my photos. I'm like, well, I could do this. But that's how you create sepia. So that's scenario number 2. Scenario 1 was sunset. Scenario number 2 is a vintage kind of sepia look. Let's get into scenario number 3. Okay, scenario number 3 is effectively just using split toning to create a color shift in your photo. So let me give you an example. This is a spiral staircase that's in the Vatican Museums in Rome. Absolutely stunning. We were on a tour and they paused and I thought the stairs were over off this direction, so I literally ran away from the tour, which I wasn't supposed to do, but hey, I didn't care because I thought I had to find this. I was told it was near the gift shop and I went to look for it, found it. Anyway, so what you can do here is create a completely different sort of look in the photo. And so I'm going to go, and I'm kind of winging this here, but I'm going to see what I can come up with. So I'm going to go a little bit kind of yellowy in the highlights and a little bit more blue in the kind of shadows, right? And so as you can see, my colors are very different. Let me compare this to what I had. There's the before, where it's all kind of a tannish sort of color. And there's the after, right, where I've got more of a blue-yellow, almost like a bicolor toning, except with bicolor toning, that divides the frame, right, depending on how you slice it. Whereas split toning is about highlights and shadows, so it gives you the ability to create a completely different look. Now, I could reverse this and create something totally different if I wanted. So let's say that's there, and this is over here. That's like almost a vintage kind of faded look. Let me show you. There's the before and there's the after. So I basically reversed it. I went warmer in the shadows and cooler in the highlights, kind of the reverse of what I'd done the first time. It's an alternate version of vintage, but the point is more so about the color shifts that you can do. With split toning, it gives you that kind of control over a photo that you can do a whole lot of different color shifts. And you can just come up with, unique, different kind of things. And you may or may not like this stuff, and that's okay. I'm just demonstrating the power of the tool. I absolutely love the filter. I use it all the time. I especially use it on sunsets. I use it on a lot of other photo types as well. And I just wanted to share a few ideas for you. So hope that it helps, my friends, plural. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll be back soon with another video. Have an awesome day. Take care, and adios.